Hello and welcome to another edition of the Paranormal Concept Show. I'm your host, Paul Rook, and as always, we are joined by Kerry Greenaway. Stupendous Kerry Greenaway, what can I say?
I can't think of a better word than stupendous.
I know, it's a total word I just made up, isn't it?
I'll take it.
Yes, compliment. So how have you been this week?
Yeah, good. Yeah, really good. Been quite busy. I think you get to the point, don't you? I mean, with all this lockdown malarkey and this, and you get sort of like hit a plateau, and you think, enough already. I'm tired of sitting around watching the TV or cleaning. I hate cleaning; it's the best of times, but you know what I mean. And you think, no, enough, and you have to pull yourself up out of that sludge bum, I call it, the sludge bumming. And because you start feeling ill because you're not doing a lot, you're not moving a lot. So about 10 o'clock the other night, I said, that's it, I've had enough. I hit my point. And I dragged the dog out for a long walk with my son. I took my son with me just for safety. And I felt so much better once I did that.
Good.
I suppose it's taking control again, isn't it, of the situation?
Yeah. Puts the control back with you, sort of thing. And
yeah. And being more proactive about things, and because it's easy to go, oh, it'll be there tomorrow, but I kind of like I want the world to open up again. I really do. I'm getting to that point where I want to go to the cinema. I want to go and see a film at the cinema. Or I want to go to the theatre. I'm at that point. I'm not so worried about the pubs. I love a pub in the summer, but not so much in the winter.
I don't know. Nice, you go to a pub, like a nice country pub in the UK, especially, and you get to sit by a nice open fire, nice crackling away, sit there with a cold pint and a couple of friends, and it makes a perfect night. It really does, even in the winter.
Yeah, I suppose put it like that. We've got some amazing pubs, actually, in the UK. We've got some really old ones, haven't we?
Oh, definitely.
So
going 1600s and stuff like that. Yeah. Fantastic places.
Yeah, well, now you put it like that, now I miss the pub.
Yeah.
But now I am starting to need more interaction from people, like external, actually face-to-face kind of thing.
Yeah.
I'm starting to get to that point now. But, we've got the vaccine. We're doing really well in the UK on a vaccine, set up. So hopefully not much longer, right?
Oh, absolutely. I reckon we could write this year off as well. Mm-hmm. And then after that, start getting back to normal.
Yeah.
Because I think with vaccine and everything, this year's going to be the year that we actually find out some of the long-term effects.
What, of COVID?
On not only just COVID, but the vaccines as well.
Yeah.
Because it's pretty much, although it went through the proper rigorous tests and stuff, I still think that it's still an unknown.
Yeah.
So I think this year they're going to find out a little bit more about it and stuff like that. But next year will be fine. We'll be all back out and having parties of 10 people and less.
Yeah, that restriction.
I think they're in for a long time to come,
I think they're in for a while, but to actually see another phase and be able to go around, even just go around and friends for a coffee would be lovely at this stage, without worrying that you're carrying something, without realising it. I don't know, it's just been a very strange time, isn't it? And it's something that's, in our lifetime, or in my lifetime, we've been very lucky. We've not had to face wars. We've not had pandemics before. I mean, if you go back to the beginning of the 1900s, they'd sort of like lived through quite a lot of change, and we haven't. Although we've had technological change, other than that, we've been quite lucky, haven't we?
We have, absolutely. And I think, with a lot of people, and I'm going to link into the actual show now. With a lot of people that are living on their own, they have pets.
Yeah.
And pet therapy is really, really good for people on their own.
Oh, God, yeah.
And it is sort of being recognised by the health authorities as well now.
Yeah.
and especially like old people's homes and things, they actually have pets. Like people come in with their animals, and they get to stroke the dogs and cats and whatever else they bring in. Not sure about the tarantulas.
Nah, not so keen on those personally.
No, the dogs and cats and stuff like that. It's pet therapy, and more people are accepting of that now. And I think that's quite a good idea. See, like the link straight into the show there.
You know what? I'm actually quite impressed.
I
was wondering how you was going to link it in.
Yeah.
Thought there was a little challenge there for you. You came up very well. Well done, Paul.
Yeah. I thought I'd take on your role this week.
Yeah, I'm really impressed with you. You're learning.
I'm not sure on these shoes though. I'm not going to put the slippers back on.
My 4-inch stilettos are a bit tight, are they?
Yeah, they are. You broke my neck walking around in them.
No, you're right though. Pets are very integral into a lot of people's lives. We form bonds with animals very closely, sometimes more closely than family members. They become. That's why you mourn so much when you have to lose a pet. It's not just a dog or just a cat or just a horse or whatever pet you have. They become part of the family. You're caring for them. You're bonding with them. And in particular with, I'm going to say dogs mainly, because dogs are so unconditional, aren't they, in their love and their need for you.
And they also sense as well when you're upset and things, and they come over for a cuddle, and then they put their arse in their face and stuff.
I mean, I got my Marley, the hound that you'll hear barking occasionally. I got him when I just divorced. I had the young kids. The kids were ever so young when I got divorced, and then I got the dog. And he was just a godsend to me. He would snuggle up and give me comfort. Like when the kids were all asleep and I was on my own. And it just, I don't know, when it was like some of my darkest days of going through that trauma, and it was, I found that process very traumatic. He really was something that I thank my blessings for every day. I adore him. And
he came in handy raising the kids for you as well. So now you've got 2 feral kids.
Yeah, I do. Yeah. But he's definitely my dog. Do you know what I mean? He'll go and sleep occasionally with the youngest, and he'll sniff around the eldest's bedroom and then come out in disgust.
You come out choking.
Yeah, giving it, oh my God, like I don't want to stay in there. It's far too smelly. But he'll go on the hunt for food in there mainly. But he's definitely my dog. And he's so protective and loving and snuggly. He's always there to give me a cuddle. And it's just been such an asset to my mental well-being. Like every other weekend when the kids were going to their dad's in the early days, this is going back a lot of years, I found that mentally challenging because all of a sudden I was totally on my own. And he gave me that purpose still, that to get up and, I've got to look after the dog, get the dog out for a walk, all of those things. And at the time, it definitely helped that. I think I would have gone into a deeper depression if I hadn't have had him at that time. So I definitely think that they're an asset to people, and the way you bond with animals is so different to how you bond with a person. There's a lot of expectations on relationships with humans between people. Whereas with an animal, you don't kind of have that. Their expectation is you love them, walk them and feed them.
That's it.
That's kind of it, isn't it? So we're looking at ghost animals today in a different way to what we did last week. We looked at ravens and wolves last week, and the mythology and the folklore that surround the more wilder animals. This week we're going more homegrown animals. We're looking at more like the pet factor of it all. So I was thinking about this. Now, when I first got Marley, Marley's a rescue dog, and he's got a huge amount of anxieties and weird ways about him, which I knew about when I took him on. And one of those was a fear of men. Another of those is he's very, he likes to have space around him when we walk. He doesn't like road walking so he doesn't like corners. He likes to see what's coming at him. And I'm really lucky. I live near massive open fields, so he has that. So for him, placing him with me was like kind of the perfect fit because of his anxieties. Now, at one point, I got a pet psychic in to see if we could work through those issues with him. And I didn't hold a lot of stock in pet psychics. What's your opinion, Paul?
Rubbish.
Well, I'm going to tell you a little story, a little anecdote. Now, this dog, fearful of everybody that comes in the house. He takes a little while to settle down with anybody that comes in. He's not aggressive. He's just very barky and runs up, sniffs, runs away, that kind of thing. When this pet psychic walked through the door, I've never seen him act like this. He ran up to her, did his normal. All of a sudden he stopped, sat down, looked at her. And I'm like, what's going on?
Could that just be because she didn't react to him?
No, I've had plenty of people in and out, the crystals and the tarot readings. And
yeah, but they might reaction, even if it's a slight reaction to Marley.
No, I don't think so. It was just so out of character.
Yeah, and it was like, what the hell are you doing? You haven't moved yet.
Oh, no. I mean, she was just like... Honestly, it was the weirdest thing I've seen. I've never seen him act like that again, to a person. Anyway, she did her thing with him, and, I just sat there and watched her. And then she goes, oh, you've got crystals. He likes your crystals. She goes, let's do a crystal grid around him. He laid down in the middle of this crystal grid and didn't move the whole time. And a lot of what she said, she said he was telling her, or showing her, because she said animals talk in imagery. She said, actually, if you looked at the behaviour and you looked at what he apparently had said to her, it would fit as to why he's got that behaviour. It was really weird. It was really weird. The whole session was incredibly weird. And it was very enlightening. So I still sit on the fence. I'm not saying he didn't solve any of the problems, but I understood the problems better to react to them better, if that makes sense.
Yeah, but then that's just interpreting his behaviour as well. Because, I knew that Marley had issues the second I walked in.
Yeah, he is quite obvious with issues, isn't he?
And it's quite obvious to see as well. When a dog maybe doesn't like men, it's obvious. Obviously, they've had issues with men before, so maybe they could have had men punched them, kicked them, all sorts of manner of problems, because the dog reacts in certain ways. And it isn't until they get to know you when they just sort of more open up to you and they look at you and go, oh no, I know him, he's all right. He's fine, I'm safe with him.
Yeah, I mean, he's fine with you guys now, isn't he? When, before all of this happened, the guys would come over quite often on a weekend and we'd have a bonfire and sit around and chew the cud quite a lot. And because he now knows you guys, he's absolutely fine with you, isn't he?
Yeah, because he knows he's safe with us.
Because he knows you're safe, yeah.
But he still will hang around your feet. It's like, don't get too close to her. I know you're alright, but...
I wouldn't do anything if you did get too close, though. This is the thing.
Exactly.
Just like, oh, no, I don't like it. But, like, when he gets shut, in the winter, if it's wet, obviously I shut him out in the garden. He hates that. And he's even got through the kitchen window, jumped through the kitchen window before now because he gets panicky. Believe it or not, this great big Alsatian dog gets panicky because he feels like he's been shut out. So now I leave the conservatory door open and shut the patio door, so he still can get in, as it were. Do you know what I mean? Little things like that have changed. I've changed to allow for his anxieties. It's really strange having an anxiety dog, but a dog full of anxieties. But little things, that have settled him down. And he's so much better now than when I first got him. I mean, he was horrendous with his anxieties. He actually did. My sister brought her boyfriend round once, and he'd not met him. And Marley literally did the wall of death. Like when they get the motorcycles around steep wall and they go around and round. He did that around my wall in my front room to get away from him. Did not like him at all. Needless to say, he's now not my sister's boyfriend. There was a lesson there.
I think the diazepam helps as well.
No, I don't drug my dog. But we're talking hauntings, like, we talk about emotion, like the impacts of emotional abuse on people. And this is one of the reasons we say that, people stay earthbound and don't move on, that it's about trauma. Now, does this happen with a animal? I mean, you've got to think of all the battles, how many horses died in battle and, those kind of things. Is this a reason why we sometimes get animals hauntings? Because you've got to remember, we've got quite a violent past. Bear baiting, we had bear pits, didn't we, at one point? That was in the 1600s. That was a really big entertainment.
I mean, I know, I think, animals are self-aware. Mm-hmm. And some animals are really quite intelligent, like, for example, cats. But have they got this grasp on death? Life after death and stuff like that. So if they do die of a traumatic experience, do they just carry on as normal, thinking they're not dead? Because they don't understand it?
I don't know. See, I don't think they've got that concept of life after death. I don't think they've got conscious to that level. But no. I do think they form a connection, to an emotional connection to places and people, which is why you probably still have accounts of, we talk about humans, people, a human will haunt somewhere because they died a traumatic death, or, when we looked into that, there's always that horror story, isn't there? I mean, going back to, I can't think of one off the top of my head now. That's always the way, isn't it? But you know what I mean? There's always like a reason why that person is haunting somewhere, and it's usually a traumatic event, or they were trying to warn somebody and it didn't happen, or
but we still get human, what we would class as spirit, that come back and they don't realise they're dead. But that's sort of like few and far between, because we get other types of hauntings as well. But with animals, is it just a case of, they don't have this awareness of death? So if anything happens to them trauma-wise, do they just think, oh, well, that hurt a bit, but I'm all right now, I'm going to carry on as normal?
I don't know.
So that mean then that there's more of those animals out there that don't know they're dead?
It's more instinctual, isn't it, with animals? It's the fight or flight response, rather than any intelligent rationalisation of the situation, I think. I don't know. I mean, when we're going to go through some of these hauntings of animals, so draw your own conclusions.
Yeah, I think, we should start at one of the most haunted locations in the UK, which is the Tower of London.
Yeah.
Because that, going back to like the 1800s and stuff like that, there's been lots of things going on there. Mm-hmm. And at one point, it is literally the original London Zoo.
Yeah.
When discoverers and stuff used to go out in the age of discovery, they'd come back with strange animals to present to the kings and queens of the period. Mm-hmm. And that's where the animals all ended up, in the Tower of London.
Yeah,
people
they did.
See them and stuff like that. And then when, I can't remember off the top of my head what king or queen it was, that eventually said, oh no, I don't want them there anymore, let's have the London Zoo. And put them so the public can go and see them. And that was sort of the birth of London Zoo. Mm.
Yeah, I think it got too many, didn't it?
Something like that, yeah.
And they were like, what do we do with that?
Giving up the elephant poo.
Yeah. Now, there is a very famous account of a particular haunting at Tower of London. Edmund Lenthal Swift. He was the appointed keeper of the Crown Jewels in 1814. Now, they keep records, right? Which is really good. Now, in Notes and Queries in 1860, there's a lot of phenomena that happens in the tower, and they do get noted down, believe it or not. Now, in the notes, there's one particular account that says, now this is ran by the Jewel Office. Now, if you've ever seen the Tower of London's jewel collection, and you know, there's always a sentry on guard, no matter what time of the day or night, it's always guarded, right? Now, there was a sentry. He was alarmed by a figure like a huge bear that came from underneath the jewel room door. He actually thrust his bayonet at it, went right through it, stuck in the doorway. And, well, he kind of went into a fit at that point and was carried to the guardroom. Mr. Swift saw the soldier in the guardroom, and his fellow sentinel was there as well, and said, no, honestly, he was quite awake, he was active, he was present, he wasn't tired or anything, he weren't ill, none of this, but he had this experience. So backed up the actions of the guard, and then he was the guard that this had happened to was so affected by it, he died the following day. It scared him that much, he died, they reckon. Now, did he see something? Or, you can look at it from a medical point of view, that maybe he, his brain flicked, he maybe had a stroke or something that made him think he saw that, and he was going to pass regardless, you know what I mean?
He could have had quite a few medical conditions that made him hallucinate. Not just maybe a mental health issue, but maybe there could be lots of different things. I mean, going back to that period, I don't know whether or not it was sort of around the same time as TB.
I don't know. When TB was prevalent. I think it probably was at this stage.
I mean, that's another one that can make you hot, sweaty, and delirious. And if he was like that.
But apparently, he had no symptoms before. It was literally like, from an external point of view, you'd see this guy go to attack something with his bayonet and then pass out. That's kind of what you would see from an external perspective on this one, if you hadn't seen the apparition. But when he came round, that's what he said, I saw a bear.
Yeah.
Maybe he did. Let's not be quite so dismissive. Maybe he
did.
That's
it. I mean, there's lots of diseases where people say they see things just before they pass out and stuff, so we never, you wouldn't know. A lot of people back then also used to eat poppy seeds.
Yeah.
It's opiate.
Yeah.
So I thought that was that could have been a reason for hallucinations.
Who knows, right?
Exactly.
Who knows, indeed. We will never find out. I mean, obviously, autopsies and stuff like that weren't really done. They're just like, oh, well, he died. So, but it is an interesting encounter, and these encounters do get marked down in the Tower of London's, books, the notes that they write about the things that happen. And there is no denying, all right, maybe not with bears and other animals, but they have plenty of other encounters. The beefeaters do have ghostal encounters at the Tower of London. It's classed as one of the most haunted places in the UK. It's a shame you can't investigate it.
No, there has been a few investigators that have been lucky enough to get there, and I think you'd have to, if you was going to go and investigate something like that, the only time you would be allowed in is with the rest of the public.
Yeah.
So you'd have all that to contend with as well. So it's not really feasible to do an investigation as such.
It's not. It gets incredibly busy in the Tower of London as a tourist spot, as you can imagine. So there's no chance of getting a quiet moment in an area, and so and it's right in the middle of it's really busy traffic-wise and noise-wise around that area. It's really busy. So the contamination of any possible investigation through a tourist perspective, it's not really the one. But the beefeaters who live there do have various encounters, and that's really where the stories come from. But it makes it so interesting, doesn't it?
It does, and it'll always fascinate people because we can't get in to look at the claims.
Yeah, definitely. Oh, wouldn't it be great if you could?
Yeah, definitely.
I know people that have had, like, when they've gone around at night, quite late at night when there's like not as many people around, have taken like strange photographs. And I know it's difficult when you're having photographs, particularly at night, because there's so many factors that you can't
Yeah.
discount. But interesting, very interesting.
It is definitely really interesting, that one.
But that one's different because it's a wild animal, effectively. Although it's been like bought for as like the zoo factor. Most of our encounters with ghost animals comes from pets. That connection between master and pet is so powerful. How many times have we heard stories where the dog won't leave the owner alone and keep sniffing a specific area, and when they're going to get it checked out and they've realised that they've got cancer or something like that, it's almost like a telepathic connection. They actually say that when you're training a dog, you have to visualise what you want the dog to do as much as tell the dog, because the dog will pick it up. I've tried that with Marley. I have to say he hasn't got many telepathic powers. I've tried it quite a lot. But does that attachment fade after death? Because many accounts of people with pets have said that they've seen them after death. I've seen my cat, Mushka, since it passed. I've had encounters. I've found paw prints of Mushka. And I'm not that dirty that this was quite a while ago, that there would be no reason for a cat paw print to appear on my window, for example. You could argue that rationally. I like to think it's my Mushka come back to check on us. You know what I mean? But this is the connection you have with your animals. Do they come back as a form of guardian angel even in death, or a protector? I mean, look at some animals. They're very protective of their owners. You think of, Alsatians generally, Rottweilers, Dobermans, those kind of dogs. They're naturally very protective, aren't they?
Yeah, they are. Yeah.
Even down to, oh God, what's the dog that's everybody says you shouldn't have now? Pit bulls. They're very, very protective. So do they, when they pass, maybe they think that they should still be in that role?
Well, that's it. I mean, we're not going to know.
It's one of those things that it's very personal, isn't it?
It is, yeah, and I think it is down to the emotional connection.
And if it is down to connection... Oh, is it down to connection, Marley? If it is down to connection as to why we have experiences on any level, paranormal experiences on any level, then you can't take out the pet factor. You can't take out that connection people have to animals, because that is just as strong a bond as anything else. Now, there is a particular dog that haunts Nashville's Belmont Hillsborough neighbourhood. It's a very famous dog around those parts, apparently. It's supposed to be a boxer named Preston. Now, this happens at Halloween every year, and apparently he keeps watch over all the young trick-or-treaters that go around the neighbourhood.
That's sweet, yeah.
Yeah, witnesses have said they've heard him barking on Halloween night, and they say if you walk too slowly or stop in the middle of the street, it'll feel like a dog bumps you to keep you moving and get you out of danger.
Excellent. Oh, that's good.
No, there's even an old lady who lives there in the neighbourhood that used to leave a dog biscuit out for Preston on her porch every Halloween.
Yeah.
How cute.
Yeah, and I wonder how many kids have tried them.
What, the dog biscuits?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, I bet there's some kid out there that goes, oh, look, there's some sweets left there. I'll have some of them.
Oh, that's a trick, not so much a treat, I would think. But coming back over to the UK, Leeds Castle, another fantastic castle we have in the UK, there's a black dog. Now, it's described by witnesses as a curly-haired retriever, and it appears and disappears within moments. Sometimes it goes through walls or doors that are closed or not, there's no door there, it'll pass through the wall, so maybe there was a door there in the past, who knows, that's the theory, isn't it? But the dog has become associated with death or misfortune. befalling a member of the castle owner's family.
Yeah.
Now,
I just want to point out as well, Leeds Castle isn't actually in Leeds in the UK. It's actually in Kent, and it's at a little village called Leeds.
Yeah.
In Kent. That's why it's called Leeds Castle.
Yeah, this can be quite confusing because we have places that are not where you automatically think they are. Now, I don't understand actually on this one why it would be associated with misfortune, because there's one tale of a lady. She was sitting by a window. She saw the dog disappearing into the wall. She went to have a look for the dog. As if say, did I just see that kind of moment? You know, did I just see a dog go through the wall? No, surely not. So she went off and had a look. And by the window where she had been sitting, it collapsed. The masonry collapsed, just literally where she'd been sitting. So that's like a good thing, right?
Yeah, but then you could quite argue that just the mere fact that she see it was a message saying you're going to die, but because she actually got up and reacted to it, she actually saved herself.
Yeah, you could argue
Where if
that.
she had just dismissed it, she would have been killed.
Or is it just a misnomer put on the poor ghost doggy that it's nothing to do with the like the misfortune side of things, that's getting crossovered with the old tales of the black shucks that we have in the UK?
Yeah, I think that's what it is. Totally. I don't think it's anything to do with bad omens or anything like that.
Because we do have this thing, and this isn't just the UK, this has actually gone over into America as well with the migrants. When the migrants went over, they took some of their folklore and their mythology with them. And the black dog, black shuck, many names of them, is actually originally UK, isn't it?
Yeah.
This is something you looked into once.
Oh yeah, absolutely. In one of our books, actually, I've written 2 blogs on the Black Shuck. I've done Black Shuck, the origins, and Black Shuck, the legends. And where I looked at the first one as the origins of some of the Black Shuck stories. Mm-hmm. And I know, obviously, you looked into one in regards to this research, but one of the stories I found from the Norfolk area was that this fisherman was out doing some fishing with his dog, and the boat capsized, and both the man and the dog fell out, but only the dog made it back to shore, and it's actually the spirit of the dog looking for his master because he was never found after that.
Aww.
So the black shuck is supposed to be this dog looking for his master, and you know, that's I would have said it was like a traumatic experience for him because, again, the emotional connection he had with his master, and he just goes looking for it. I mean, you see it all the time on social media and stuff like that with pets, especially dogs, that sit at their master's grave and just pine for them. So, you know, they do have this strong bond, and that's very significant in that particular story, but there are so many different legends for the Black Shuck.
Oh, so many different ones. Now, I'm going to read out something by W.A. Dutt. He wrote in 1901 Highways and Byways of East Anglia about the Black Shuck, and it kind of sums up whatever the mythology and folklore of it. Now, he takes the form of a huge black dog and prowls along dark lanes and lonesome field footpaths where, although his howling makes the hearer's blood run cold, his footfalls make no sound. You may know him at once should you see him by his fiery eye. He has but one, and that, like the Cyclops, is in the middle of his head. But such an encounter might bring you the worst of luck. It is even said that to meet him is to be warned that your death will occur before the end of the year, so you would do well to shut your eyes if you hear him howling. Shut them even if you are uncertain whether it is the dog fiend or the voice of the wind you hear. Should you never set eyes on our Norfolk snarly owl, you may perhaps doubt his existence, and like other learned folk, tell us that his story is nothing but the old Scandinavian myth of the Black Hound of Odin, brought to us by the Vikings who long ago settled on the Norfolk coast. Now that is the Norfolk kind of version of the Black Shuck. Now he has many, he's linked with the Fae in regards to the Wild Hunt. He's also in Scotland. If you go up there, he's got a completely different persona. That he's seen as a dog of protection, a folkloric dog of protection, and often back into deer. The old, the folk in the villages would say, "Watch over the children," and call on him to watch over the children while they were out playing. So depending on where you are, depends on the folklore and the mythology that springs up surrounding it. But one of the accounts we want to talk about is actually to do with the churches of Bungay and Blythburgh, which is in Suffolk, which is around the same area as W.A. Dutt was talking, East Anglia area. Now, this happened in 1577. Now, a black shuck is said to burst in through the church doors to a clap of thunder. He runs up the nave, past a large congregation, kills a man and a boy, causes the church steeple to collapse through the roof, and then as he left, the dog this is, he left scorch marks on the north door, which can be seen to the church, seen in the church to this day.
Yeah, you can.
And this particular account was recounted by quite a few different people. It was also encountered by the Reverend Abraham Fleming in 1577. He talked about this tale as well. Now, almost putting a devilish, satanic thing on the apparition, isn't it?
It is, and I do think it is based from the Vikings, because as you said, when they come over, it might have been two different tribes of Vikings that would have different interpretations on their history with the Black Shuck and the dogs being from Odin. One group could have gone to Scotland, and that's why they get the protection, we're over here, we're going to protect you, sort of thing. And we've got the support of Odin and his dogs, where they might have encountered more aggressiveness in the south. So when they come up against Boadicea or Bodica, or whatever they want to call her now, they were met with force, so they instilled the fear through Odin and his dogs. So that might be why there's this discrepancy in what the Black Shuck actually means.
Yeah, I think belief system comes into it as well. I mean, don't forget, back in these days, your belief in religion, as it were, the good, the bad, the, God, the devil, it could be a rational explanation.
Oh, definitely.
On this.
Again, I know obviously that when the Vikings come to the southern shores, especially around Norfolk and stuff, they did have Boadicea to contend with. And if they tried to take over and she weren't having none of it, then you've got that aggressiveness. So they're like, okay, we're going to call on Odin and his dogs to wipe you all out. And that's sort of where that grew from, where in Scotland they might be more accommodating.
It's interesting though, isn't it, that both sides have got this mythology, this folklore, the same folklore, so it has been witnessed or seen by different cultures at different times.
Yeah.
I don't know, it's just, I find it a fascinating part of our folklore, the Black Shuck. It's different depending on where you go. Different areas of the country have different, versions of it. Different, even down to, like East Anglia, it's almost cycloptic with the one eye. Others say it's like a normal black dog. It's different, isn't it?
It is, but again, that's just ghost stories, and it could also be mixed with smugglers' stories as well.
Yeah, that's a possibility. We looked at that at one point, didn't we?
Yeah. So again, it could just be a mixture, a mishmash of different legends, and people just got confused through the years, Chinese whispers and all that.
Yeah. You've got to remember nowadays, our in our psyche regarding the black dog, we kind of go back to Sherlock Holmes and the Hound of the Baskervilles. That's kind of where he got his idea from for that
Yeah.
particular story. The black dogs. We think that that's where his inspiration for that came from. In that one, so and they're called different things depending on what area of the country you go to. And I know that folklore did migrate with the Irish and going over to America. So in certain parts of America, you get this as well now, because it migrated with the people that went.
Well, that's it. It's just more of more recent for the Americans, but it's slowly taking hold over there as well.
So are they witnessing it, or is that... I mean, we talked earlier last week regarding the werewolf, the dog man phenomena. You know, is it just like back in the day they would have called it a werewolf, nowadays we call it dog man? Could this be the same sort of thing? People are just seeing apparitions, or is this something we're manifesting because of that belief system and folklore that we've grown up with?
Well, I mean, yeah, it's just a case of someone sees a big black dog in the distance, and then it runs away, and they're like, oh, that could have been that black shark that I heard about last week in the newspaper. And that's how it starts. And it only takes one person to embellish that story. It goes, oh, yeah, it had like one red eye and teeth down his backside, and, you know, it only takes one person to embellish it, and it just kicks off all over again.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Who knows? Who knows? It is. It's a very fascinating area of folklore to have a look into. I mean, there's a Dr. Simon Sherwood actually suggests that the earliest surviving description of the Black Hounds is actually an account of an incident at Peterborough Abbey, and this was around 1127. Do you want me to read that?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay, let no one be surprised at the truth of what we are about to relate, for it was common knowledge throughout the whole country that immediately after Abbot Henry of Poitou's arrival at Peterborough Abbey, it was the Sunday when they sing Exurge Quar, whatever that is, many men both saw and heard a great number of huntsmen hunting. The huntsmen were black, huge and hideous, and rode on black horses and on black he-goats, and their hounds were jet black with eyes like saucers and horrible. This was seen in the very deer park of the town of Peterborough, and in all the woods that stretch from that same town to Lincolnshire Stamford. And in the night the monks heard them sounding and winding their horns even. Reliable witnesses who kept watch in the night declared that there might well have been as many as 20 or 30 of them winding their horns as near as they could tell. This was seen and heard from the time of his arrival all through Lent and right up to Easter. Now this kind of makes you think of, like we talked about, the black dog being linked to the wild hunt of the Fae, and they've put this on this arrival of this abbot has triggered the wild hunt for some reason. I don't know why. I mean, the poor man. It's like, oh my God, everyone's blaming me for this. But I don't know. Tales of the Wild Hunt, again, huge mythology surrounding that with the Fae. Fae aren't like Tinkerbell, like everyone seems to think.
No, again, that's sort of a mishmash of different theories at the end of the day, isn't it, really?
But again, it was witnessed and recorded, so who knows what that was all about. We don't know, do we? Anyway, back to something more, normal, should we say. In the 1700s, a press gang entered the Anchor Tavern in order to persuade men to join the King's Navy. Now, one of the dogs belonging to a customer bravely attempted to protect his master from being press ganged. Now, press ganging is when they would go in and basically make you join the Navy.
Yeah, didn't they use koshes as well?
Yeah, basically knock you out, you'd wake up and find yourself on a ship. Basically is what it was. So this is like...
that's what made the British Navy great.
Enforced enlistment, I think is the expression.
Yeah.
But this dog is protecting its owner from these men. Now, in order to keep it away, a gang member actually slammed the heavy pub door on the dog, severing its tail. The animal obviously ran off into the night and was never actually again seen in the flesh, so to speak. It was never seen alive again. But it is said that at closing time of the pub, you see it sniffing around the pub, and they think it's still searching for its owner, who it failed to save from being press-ganged.
If it was never seen again, how could it be seen at closing time sniffing around the pub?
No, it was never seen alive again.
Okay, until they see it sniffing around the pub.
In spectral form.
I think they're lying slightly.
Oh, what makes you say that? If it's still seen now, this happened in the 1700s.
Just the fact that the animal ran off yelping into the night, never to be seen again. And
alive, yeah.
Lying, yeah, it's like...
And the next time it was seen, it was sniffing around the pub in spectral form.
Yeah, I don't think that was the only spirit you manifested that
night. Oh, you so cynical.
Yeah, I don't buy that one.
All right, let's go for another one then. Little Coat House. Now, Little Coat House has got quite a few ghosts. A lot of places apparently do. They have a phantom dog. It has been seen on the Jerusalem staircase by several members of the staff. It's black in colour, appears to be totally real, yet if someone goes to grab it or stroke it, their hand goes straight through the animal. Ooh, scarsy.
Yeah. Again, hallucinations maybe.
I don't know, what does it...
But if it's been... has that one actually been documented and investigated?
Yeah, people investigate it. I don't know the outcome of that, but, you know. Mm. Anyway, here's a personal account then for you. This is a personal account. I don't know the family myself. I found this account out there on Reddit. Now, they had a pug and a brother named Jobbo. He was one of the most awesome dogs that this guy had ever had. When Jobbo was maybe 1.5 or 2 years old, his dad got a very bad case of influenza and was very ill for weeks. Go for days without seeing him because he was confined to his room. Now, their belief system comes in here, right? Because the superstition was that if a human member of the house was ill, an animal would actually sacrifice itself to save them. Now, Jobbo suddenly became ill itself. It was playful and wasn't. All of a sudden, it refused to eat food. They took him to a vet. They couldn't find anything wrong with him. And he was found dead a few days later in the backyard. After that, their father's illness just suddenly seemed to disappear. And they believe as a family that Jobbo sacrificed himself to save the dad. It goes on, actually. I found this quite interesting. They buried him under a big pepper tree in the backyard. So this has got to be America, I would have said. I don't know what a pepper tree is, so it can't be UK. And they'd said that before Jobbo died, the guy said he would see an apparition of a white woman underneath this tree, but this is where they buried the dog. And then after they buried the dog there, they saw the dog chase the white lady apparition around the tree. Oh, God. And then they didn't see the lady anymore, the white lady anymore. So they think that Jobbo is still looking after the family.
Yeah, I mean, that is a possibility. And as you said, it is quite a belief system. But, they could have quite easily sacrificed a dog as well and just not told the kid.
What?
Not very nice, is it?
Oh my God, I can't believe you just said that.
What? Well, they might have done.
No.
Yeah, they might have done. Sacrifice the dog, give it up to the spirits or whatever. It depends on their belief system, doesn't it? Sacrifices happen.
Well, no, I know, but it doesn't actually say that in the account. It says that the dog suddenly became ill and then the father got better.
Yeah, but who's writing this? Is it the son?
It's the personal account, isn't it? The son, yeah.
Yeah, so it's the son. So it's just like when someone's pet rabbit dies, they don't tell the kid the real truth, do they? They just say, like, oh, he run away, or say, you know?
I can't. No.
Yeah, they could have done that.
Oh my God, you're so cynical at times.
Well, it's a little bit more believable than that.
Well, I don't think so, actually. I'm going on the side that he did sacrifice himself to save the father.
That's fine, you live with that.
I don't know. So cynical.
I'll go with the dog died anyway of natural causes, and
Yeah.
the
And the
dad just
father
had a
got
cold.
better.
Yeah, he just had a cold. He had man flu.
Sacrificed himself to save his daddy.
He didn't. He just died. Natural causes. They told the kid this to shut him up a bit, and the dad got better from man flu.
So you mean to say that when my Goldie was taken to a farm because she used to chew everything, so Dad was like, can't keep the dog because it's just ruining the house, basically. We can't afford to keep replacing everything. So they took her to a farm where she could, run free with the animals and live happily ever after and give her more attention than we was able to at the time. And that didn't happen.
Well, no, it might have happened, but what? See, that just rings alarm bells for me. Why take it to a farm?
Oh, because it had lots more room to run around and be exercised and more attention and wouldn't chew up the house like it was chewing our house up.
I suppose, yeah, yeah, I'm sure that happened.
Yeah, I'm going to go and ask my dad now.
Just to be happy for you.
I'm going to ask my dad about that. I've always believed he did that. Now I'm questioning that because of you.
Yeah, not the fact that the farmer might have a big cupboard full of rifles.
No. Oh my God. I'm going to have to go and have a lie down after this show. Where's Richard? He'd be backing me. I'd go, yeah, it's a lovely farm.
I'm sure he's lived happily ever after with this farm.
He did.
Yeah.
I'm absolutely distraught right now, everybody. Just going to put that out there. I'm going to come off this show traumatised because of Mr. Rook and his cynicism. I'd just like to put that out there. I'm going to need counselling.
Anyway,
let's get off dogs.
Yeah, get off dogs.
Because this is awful what he's suggesting over there. Let's talk about cats.
Yeah, cats are lovely.
Cats are very independent creatures, aren't they?
Yeah. Vicious things they are.
They can be.
Yeah. I've had my arms ripped to shreds.
I'll tell you another little story. I was waiting for a lift on a corner of the road, and this ginger cat come up to me. It's a real cat, not a ghost cat. And, it was rubbing itself around my legs, and I was like, oh, lovely cat. And so I bent down to stroke the cat while I was waiting for my lift, and it went crazy. And all my arms were like, I was wearing long boots, so my legs were all right, but it got my arms really a lot. And I was like, oh my God, proper attacked me, then ran off. Then my lift turned up and I got in the car and I was like mopping up blood from my arms. And my friend said to me, she goes, what on earth happened to you? And I've just been attacked by a cat. And she was like, only you. The only person in the world that could be waiting for a lift quite innocently and get attacked by a cat. My arms were literally ripped to shreds. And I don't even know why.
You could have started your whole mythology around it. It just said it was a massive big cat. It was like Tony the Tiger from Kellogg's. And it just come out of the bushes in his big fluffy costume and attacked you.
Honestly. So, like, my son has always wanted a cat, so I got a cat, a little black and white one, called it Mishka. Beautiful. A very, very independent cat this was. Always wanted to be outside, and actually during the summer it was fine. You'd leave the window open, the cat would come and go. And then when that died, it got run over, bless it. wasn't very savvy. When the next day, I went out and there was about 6 or 7 cats on the driveway, and I stood there and I had to tell them that Mushka had passed, gone. Yeah, and they one by one, they all, as I said it, one by one, they all got up and walked off, and never saw the posse again, as it were, together. A lot of the other cats in that posse have now passed as well, but it was awful. I was crying as I was telling all these cats. I'm like, so sorry, but he's gone. That is, and literally one by one, they all got up and walked away. It was, again, really weird.
They are really clever, and they only meow at humans.
Do they?
Yeah. Yeah, if you watch 2 cats interacting with each other, they make these other noises, and it is just like they communicate with each other, but they will only meow to you.
Oh, they've got our own little human language.
Yeah, they do.
Is it a bit like when we baby talk? You know, like when you come across a baby, you go, oh, you're right there, little baby. Maybe cats do the same with humans.
Yeah, that's probably exactly what it is. Yeah.
When they're talking to each other, it's like adult talk. You know, when they talk to humans, it's like my baby human.
I mean, there are some videos that are quite funny on like streaming sites, YouTube in particular, and they are quite funny because someone's just recorded 2 cats chatting away to each other, and then they dub in what really like human speak, what they're actually saying to each other. And I think there was one cat having a go at the other cat, and it was quite funny. And they were like, "Oh, you cooked me dinner last night, and it was horrible." And you know, the whole argument. That's quite. Definitely go over and have a look at those.
Now, there is a whole folklore surrounding cats, and we could have done a 2-hour show on cats alone, but we're going to sort of like skim over the cats. We're going to tell you a couple of things, but not go into the mythology, because you could get bogged down in Egyptology and that sort of side of things with cats. So,
yeah,
that
gives Kerry a headache. So
it gives me a bit of a headache, to be fair, when you're trying to work out Egypt mythology. It's, Anyway, there is a tale of a church in All Hallows Church, and an organist. She had a pedigree Persian, and then she wanted her pedigree Persian to be buried on consecrated ground. Now, the organist died before the cat did, and she got buried, obviously, as the request was that she wanted to be buried in consecrated ground. But when the cat passed, she wanted the cat put in with her, and the vicar would not allow it. He said, no, it's an animal, we don't do animals. And so it wasn't interred in the churchyard. And since then, the cat has apparently been seen walking it around the church. And people, when people spot it, they think it's a normal animal, but they can never find it.
Could it? I just wild theory out there.
You're going to just say this is like a normal cat, and cats disappear really easily.
Could it just be another cat wandering around? Because if you start chasing a cat, it's going to hide.
No.
They're quite nimble little things.
Well, they are. They're incredibly nimble.
Yeah.
That's not the point, though, is it?
Well, yeah. What's more likely? It's another cat or it's a ghost?
But if it's a pedigree Persian, they're not common. And you see a pedigree Persian in the churchyard, you can't find it, and you've got this tale of this woman with her pedigree Persian. Can't you know, come on.
So how close it is as well.
Oh, you're being very hard-nosed today.
Yeah. It's just, no, I don't buy that.
You are being very hard-nosed, Mr. Rook.
Yeah, no, I don't see that.
Well, I'm going to tell you one little legend about a cat. Going back to biblical times, apparently there's a legend that the only creatures on earth who are not made by God was actually the cat. When God covered the world with water, Noah obviously had his ark. They weren't on the ark. Cats weren't. Because he hadn't created them yet. He was like, no, I don't think I'll make a cat. So he didn't. But on the ark, it became infested with rats, because we all know how rats breed, right? And they were eating up all the stores of food. Well, Noah prayed for a miracle, and all of a sudden, poof, a pair of cats sprang to life from the mouths of the lion and the lioness. They set to work, quickly dispatched all the rats, apart from the original 2, of course, because, you know, that was the point of having 2 of every animal. And as their reward, when the boat reached dry land, the cats walked at the head of the great procession of Noah's animals, which is why all cats are proud to this very day.
Okay, that's, yeah, interesting.
Okay. Is that what you've got to say on that one?
Why couldn't the lions have done it?
Well, they're not.
They're just big cats. Why did they have to have little cats?
They're not ratters, are they? That's why ships have cats.
Yeah.
To keep down the
Well,
mice or rat population.
Lazy. The lions were lazy. They could have dealt with them.
Anyway, Mr. Hard-Nosed, Mr. Rook today on the Paranormal Concept Show. We've come to the end of the first half on that little bombshell of cynicism. Join us right after this.
Hello, Harry Price here. If there's nothing me and my friends enjoy more here on the other side, it is to sit back and relax and listen to the Paranormal Concept Show, right here on the PAUK Radio Network. Broadcasting a plethora of interesting and informative content for all your paranormal needs. Find them across social media to keep up to date with forthcoming shows and all their other adventures. Hello, is there anybody there?
And welcome back to the Paranormal Concept Show, exclusive to the Paranormal UK Radio Network. Now, before the break, we were talking about ghost animals, pets and whatnot, so Mr. Rook was being very, very cynical. I'm not just going to say that. He's very cynical today. So we're moving on. We're going to look at horses. Ghost horses.
Ghost GGs.
Yeah. Now, White Horse Road in Edge Hill is named after the spectral white horse that has been seen galloping across the fields. Now, the road runs from the site of the haunted Edge Hill battlefield to the place where the bodies of the slain soldiers of both armies were buried. And it is alleged that they think that this horse belonged to one of Prince Rupert. Belonged to Prince Rupert, even. God, I said that all wrong, didn't I? He survived the battle.
He did?
If he survived the battle, then why would his horse be there? Unless his horse died there and he didn't.
Yeah, looking for him, maybe.
Maybe. And there's another phantom horse that belongs to Captain Kingsmill, who died on the field of the battle. So he died, one survived, and both these horses are alleged to haunt the battlefield, or the edge of the battlefield.
And Captain Kingsmill went on to make bread.
What?
Kingsmill.
Oh, for goodness sakes.
God, dear.
He does this to me all the time. So, what do we think of that? Do we think that's a... See, I don't see any reason why horses wouldn't haunt a battlefield the same as the men. It's a very traumatic time, a battlefield.
It makes... it's just a whole traumatic thing, and because they've got that emotional connection to their rider, in this case, you know, I don't see why not.
So you think that is more of a possibility than a dog who's, like, trying to protect his owner from being press ganged and keeps trying to find his owner, not?
Yeah.
Okay, can you work me through your mind process on that?
No.
Okay, right.
The cat one in particular, I mean, come on. It could just be another cat walking around the church. You go and look again. They're quite nimble and quick sometimes. You know, I don't buy that one.
But it's a pedigree Persian.
No, it's
It's
a
not
bit
just like a normal cat.
No, you're not going to win on that one. It's another
Okay.
cat.
All right then. Let me give you another account of a spectral horse.
Yeah, but then like another a horse, a ghost horse, wouldn't like disappear as quick as a cat. It's not like a horse can climb a tree and see it.
Ghost horse climbing a tree. Now there's a sight, everybody. No, I understand that, but I think with the cat one, we're going to argue about this now, everybody. With the cat one, it's a pedigree Persian. It's not just any old cat. It's not just like a tabby or a black and white cat that you see everywhere. There's hundreds of them. Do you know what I mean? This is a pedigree Persian.
Yeah, but since when is it a law that only one person can own one type of cat?
No, but it would.
People in the village that have got them.
But it's very rare you would have a story like that, and then sightings of a...
She might have bred the cat because it's a pedigree one, so there might be another one in the village.
I would say that's, in regards to probability, I would say it's probably quite low. Or you would find physical proof of it. You'd find the cat. You'd know the cat belonged to.
If you had a pedigree cat or a pedigree dog or whatever, you'd want to breed them, wouldn't you?
But you wouldn't necessarily you wouldn't have the ghost story attached to it. I pretty much know all the cats in my neighbourhood and who they belong to. Yeah?
Yeah.
So if it was somebody, say it was another Persian cat in the neighbourhood, the chances are people are going to know whose it is, particularly a pedigree Persian.
Depends how close they are to it.
Oh, the fact that it hangs around the same churchyard as this lady's pedigree Persian.
It might be the only church in the village.
It probably is the only church in the village.
So where else is it going to hang around?
But if it's a village, then you probably would know who owned a pedigree Persian.
Not if you see it from outside the church and the church is like 5 miles back.
Oh, you wouldn't even see the cat then, would you?
No, exactly.
You were just being cynical.
Yeah.
But get a bigger horse. Get a horse, and he thinks that this is fine.
Yeah.
Right. Culm Bay in Wales. Now, there was a witness to the spectre. He described he was driving to work early one morning, just as the day was dawning. Suddenly, a large white horse appeared from over the hedge. The terrified driver said that the horse filled the window screen and he fully expected to hit it. He braced himself, slammed on the brakes. His car obviously went into a spin, came to a stop. Horse had vanished. He's not the only person to have witnessed this at the same time, same place. This is like a reoccurring horse apparition.
Okay. Given the fact that many people have witnessed it and experienced that, then something's got to be happening there, hasn't it?
Same as the cat.
But then... but again, on the cynical lines, could it just be a horse that's there, and then I know he was shocked and put the brakes on and braced himself for the impact, but then could he also have been like, oh no, a car's going to hit me, let's run away?
But if it's, you can't have it both ways, babe.
Well, you can. Yours is going to be just as shocked, isn't it?
Yeah, but if it's a ghost horse and it's been seen many times by other people, that's just one account of that. But loads of other people have had it at the same area at the same time of day. No horse. Now, either this horse is incredibly stupid and jumps the hedge at that particular time every bloody day. I can't say this. You take.
Well, no, I think that would be a case that would be quite interesting to investigate, just so you can get to see this lane, see the hedges. Is there a horse field next to it, either side, and just investigate it? I think that would be quite an interesting one to look at.
You would also have to travel that lane at that same time every day for God knows how long, until perhaps, maybe, possibly. This is the thing about reoccurring ghosts, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. But no, I mean, you wouldn't need to do that, I don't think. If you went there and the only thing that was either side of the road is, I don't know, a big factory, and there's like no horses within like 50-mile radius, you can pretty much rule out that it's actually a horse in the field.
Oh, I see what you mean.
So, without actually knowing that area and things, it would be something that I'd be interested to go and have a look at and pinpoint where it's supposed to have happened and looked for more logical explanations than it just being a ghost.
This is actually where Google Maps can come in handy.
It can, but then again, it can be quite flawed. If you do the Google Maps, you can find the road, but you don't know whereabouts on that road you're looking at. So half of it could be in a built-up area and half of it in the sticks.
No, that's true. But if you could pinpoint the area where it happens, you could then find the view.
But then if you went there, you could actually speak to the locals.
True. But it's Wales, babe. It's quite a way.
Well, yeah. Well, it's closer to me than it is you.
True.
But, yeah, I mean, I wouldn't go there. Unless it was closer, I probably wouldn't go and investigate it. But, no, it's definitely one that someone could look into and pinpoint everything and look into whether or not it's just a field of horses next door, or... Because if there is, I'd say that it's not a ghost horse at all. It's just one of them getting out.
Mm.
And again, the walls either side as well of the road. Is it something a horse could quite easily jump over, or is it like 20-foot fir trees or something?
I would think No, I understand what you're saying, but you would think that rationally people would say there was no way that could happen because of the trees. You would think that would be put into the account.
People say a lot of silly things.
Yes, they do, don't they?
So it's a case of going and looking for yourself.
True. But you've got an account of a horse? A ghosty horse?
Well, it wasn't particularly my account, but someone actually showed me a photograph of it was like a golden mist, and it was taken in someone's attic, and you could actually see the shape of this mist was a horse's head, and then you see like the bit of the body where the front legs are, and there was a knight sitting on the top of it, and you could quite clearly see the defined features in this mist. But the thing, I mean, okay, it was quite defined, but the thing that struck me the strangest was, why is it in an attic? I get, it might have had something to do with the level of the ground before the house was built. But again, would they have dug down that far to put a house in there? I don't know. It's a strange one for me.
I would say, again, you have to look at the area, don't you?
Yeah, absolutely.
Has the local area changed that much geologically, or would they have dug out a hill that would have the size that would actually put a horse and knight in an attic kind of area?
Yeah, I mean, that is sort of plausible. But then I don't know the geographic area of the place where this house is. As you said, would it have changed that much? I don't know. But again, that's something else to look into. And especially as an investigator, that's sort of the tack that I take. It's like, why would that ghost be in the attic? Let's find a reason for that. And it could be quite as simple as the level of the ground was higher when that horse was around.
Mm.
But I think it's still a bit far-fetched.
So that's where you get pareidolia, isn't it? That's pareidolia, where you've taken a photograph and, all right, you've got this mist, but this mist could be something to do with the camera itself, and then your mind is seeing a pattern in that, and then because they pointed out it's a horse and knight, you then see the horse and knight.
But then, going on to something we're going to talk about in a minute, though, there's a spirit of, isn't it, that gorilla in a manor house in the UK, and we're going to go into it in a little while, so I won't talk too much about it. But if you snap that in that house, one of the questions you have to ask yourself is, why is that spirit in that house. And there is a logical explanation because one of the previous owners actually had it. So now you know why that spirit's in that location. So why would a horse and a knight be sitting in someone's attic? I don't get that.
No, I don't either.
But it still warrants an investigation into not just the spirit energy, but also why would it be in that location? And that's why we go into the history of the buildings as well.
History is a huge part of it.
That's why I like paranormal, because it just goes into a lot of history as well. I love history.
Yeah, I do think it's an integral part of the paranormal, but I don't think you can jump to assumptions just because the history says. Just because.
No, again, you'd have to look at what the history books say. You're going to have to look into verifying that source as well. So you've got to do a proper job.
Yeah, but I think the problem is, the history, you overlay that on maybe personal experience that you've had, and it may not be what that was. So I think you have to be very careful, even knowing or even interpreting historical information, that you don't jump to an assumption just because it's something that happened in history, because you may interpret what you experience differently because you know the history.
Yeah.
So I think you have to be careful. There's a balance, isn't there?
Definitely, absolutely.
There is a balance.
And that's how you do your investigations properly.
Well, it's just one of them. I mean, I was on an investigation, very, very first one, and I was a total novice. First ever investigation, public, paying customer, went along. Very quiet night. I mean, the team, nothing wrong with the way they ran the investigation, or we just didn't have anything happen. So, it's just one of those things. So they got some photographs out, and one of these photographs was clear as a bell, right? It was a carriage, and it had skeletal horses at the front, and you could see the skeleton, you could see the carriage, you could see everything. And it was so good. And, of course, at the time, total novice, going, oh, wow, my God, that's amazing, capture, and all this. Looking at it now, that's so fake.
Yeah.
It's obviously faked. But at the time, I didn't know any better. You know what I mean? Now, for all I know, again, there you go, your cynicism comes in, doesn't it? For all I know, I'm crying fake now with knowledge that I've got. But I don't know where that photograph was taken, who took that photograph, the conditions it was taken under. It could be genuine. If it is, it's an amazing photograph. Never seen it out there the whole time I've been researching, to be fair. And actually, if it was that good a capture, you would think it would be out there.
Definitely.
So that, again, screams fake to me. But you jump to an assumption on your knowledge. And that's quite a dangerous road when you start jumping to assumptions with the paranormal. You can never jump to an assumption on a belief system, or it's all theology. It's all theology what we deal with. We can't prove any of it.
No, I think you can say, like, based on my knowledge, I do believe that that's a faked picture. But then, 10 years down the line, someone might actually come out and say, well, actually, it's a real genuine photograph. This is the evidence I've got. And give you all the information that you need to think, well, actually, okay, that does apply to my picture as well. So I might have thought once it was faked, but actually, looking at this new evidence, it's not actually.
But again, you can't jump to the assumption either way. You've got to go back to the Brown Lady of Raynham Hall, really famous photo. For years, that was taken as a real entity capture on film. That photograph's been banded around many, many times. And looking at the evidence now of the camera they used, the stairwell itself, all the factors surrounding that, now we think we've got an explanation of how that photograph has happened.
Yeah, but then that's just based on somebody's experience that it's a fake.
So where do you go?
Someone 10 years ago might think, well, actually, it's not.
Well, I think you have to be just very careful. what you overlay on what's happened, including history. I think it's great. You should research your history, but I do think
just to have an open mind, and at the end of the day, just because
you shouldn't be so
you
dismissive.
you don't think it's genuine, it doesn't make you right. If someone said, if I say like, okay, yeah, there's a location that I believe is haunted, but that's just based on my knowledge. 10 years down the line, someone could prove it to be a complete fake, and I'll be like, okay, well, that's hands up, based on your experience and based on your decision and your evidence. Okay, I'm inclined to agree with you now. So I'll just change my whole outlook on it. But I've taken on board their experience as well, and this is how the paranormal learns. If you are proved wrong or right, you know, someone can come along and change that in an instant, and you just go and hold your hands up and go, well, okay, but that was based on my experience up until this point.
Your experience and knowledge up until that point. But all you've done is expand your knowledge. That doesn't change the personal experience you had.
No.
And this is why you shouldn't be so dismissive of people's personal experiences.
Exactly.
You know, we can be very cynical or critical-minded when we come to people's experiences, and we can offer a lot of explanations which are probably relative regarding things, but you're not the person that experienced it.
Exactly, and this is why you should investigate the talking mongoose.
Yeah, right. Anyway, let's talk about the monkey. Sticking point right there. Notice I've not put the talking mongoose in this.
I have noticed.
Had you noticed? I've actually left that one out. Now, this is actually a well-known ghost of a pet monkey. It's at Athelhampton House. Big mouthful, that is. Now, it was reported. Now, this is where mass media does. This is where you go sensationalism, and to get the headline, it was masturbating ghost. You know what I mean? At Athelhampton House. And it, the byline was the phantom of the chortling chimp swings from the rafters while scratching his privates, a huge beam on his face. Well, when you look into this is not true at all. It's got nothing to do with that being a masturbating monkey. The ghost is a ghost. It is something that is at Athelhampton Hall. Has been seen, has been witnessed, right? You know, this is why we're talking about it. But this is where press sensationalism is in the forefront, because this is not what this ghost does at all. Now, the ghost, the story behind this, the history behind this, is the house was originally built by the Martin family. Their family crest was a monkey sitting on a tree stump, and their motto is, "He who looks at Martin's ape will look at him." And they think that Martin's ape is who haunts the hall. Now, they had a pet ape, a pet monkey, and it had freedom in the house. This is not uncommon back into it there, right? You know, weird animals. They used to love a bit of a weird animal. It had freedom in the house, could wander around as it wanted to. One of the daughters of the Martin family had a very unhappy love affair and decided to kill herself. She climbed hidden stairs to a secret room. The ape followed her. The poor girl did end her life in that room, right? And obviously the monkey's stuck in there with her. And by the time they found her, the monkey had actually starved to death. Now, the monkey itself is not seen per se, but apparently you can hear it scratching at the panelling of the secret room and staircase.
Okay.
So the headline in the mass media gives it a completely connotation to actually what activity is actually going on.
Yeah.
But people go to Athelhampton House to try and see the ghost monkey when no one's actually seen it. They've just heard the scratching.
Yeah.
So it's a great kind of little tourist trap, isn't it?
It is, definitely. And yeah, no, as you said, it was just fantasised a bit, and yeah.
This is why you can't trust mass media. Mm-hmm.
No, no, definitely. It's not like they ever lie about anything anyway, really, is it?
They twist the truth, don't they?
Twisted, they wrangle it.
Wangle, twist, sensationalise. It's what the media does. But media is a business. Their business is to sell news and make people buy their newspaper. It is a business. Yeah. The more sensationalised you get it, that's why you get what you get.
Yeah. I don't think, like, monkey tickling door would sell many newspapers.
Well, no, which is why they put it down as a masturbating monkey, because sex sells, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, and this is the problem, isn't it? And people lose sight of the fact of how media report.
Yeah.
And it's got worse. But fake news...
It's got masturbate into something else now, is it?
Fake news is not new. And it all started in America with between two rival newspapers. And one newspaper was always copying the other newspaper. So the newspaper actually printed a fake story so they could basically call out the other newspaper. They deliberately did it to call out the other newspaper. And then it became a media face-off type thing between the two newspapers. And that was the first story of a fake newspaper story. And it grew from there. When they realised it sold more newspapers, this rivalry between the two newspapers, it got more and more outlandish. And then it spread to other newspapers. And then the censorship didn't really kick in particularly well on newspapers. We talk about governing certain areas. Media is one of those areas that's never really been properly governed.
Yeah.
So there's a little bit of history fact for you.
Cool.
So that's about Athelhampton Hall, the 8th. But it is interesting when you look, we talked about history, you know, how the Martin family did have a ghost. No, didn't have a ghost. They did actually have a real live monkey in the house. That bit's fact.
Yeah.
You know, that bit's not made up. You know, the daughter and all that apparently going in the secret room and all that. There is a secret room. There is a secret staircase. Who knows, right?
Exactly. And
maybe the history of that did happen as we've just relayed. She went up there, committed suicide. The monkey got stuck in with her, died of starvation. You know, but now it's a great little ghost story. And I've been to places as a tourist because there's a ghost story attached to it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Whether or not it's a true ghost story, I don't know. I just take it on fact that that's what it says on the website. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So let's take a look at some feathered friends, shall we say?
Yeah, why not?
Excuse me. Ghost goose.
Ghost goose.
A ghost goose, right?
It doesn't talk, does he, this one?
No, it doesn't. Elliot O'Donnell tells of a farmer who was driving in a pony and trap along the road in Melsonby. The horse suddenly shied and bolted. The farmer wrestled with the reins, got the horse under control, and couldn't understand why the horse just suddenly went like that. And he saw beside the trap what appeared to be a large white goose waddling along the road the way geese do. Yet he was going as fast as the horse.
Okay.
Gooses don't walk that fast. They can fly fast, but not that fast. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I don't.
When they reached the churchyard, the farmers realised that the ghost had actually turned in through the closed and locked gates of the churchyard, and that was it. But again, this spectral bird has been seen by several people on a number of occasions.
Could he just trapped him, like, I don't know. Yeah, just trapped him in the door or something as he was driving along. That's why they kept up with him.
Tumbleweed moment there.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know. I do know that when I went to, in Leadenhall Market, there is a pub. You go down the stairs, it's in the basement side of things. They're supposed to have a ghost goose as well, and the body of the goose is supposed to be in the walls somewhere. They don't know where, But the urban legend of the pub says that there is a ghost goose that has allegedly been seen within the pub. It is a very oldie-worldy type pub. I will say that.
Geese were used to protect buildings as well, weren't they? Because they're quite vicious animals.
They are. I've got a lake where I live, and there's loads of geese and swans on there, and they can be, particularly mating season in the spring. They're very protective, and they have nurseries. So, like, they'll all have chicks in their flock of geese, and then you'll have 2 or 3 of the big adults watching over the babies, baby geese, while they're feeding. Like, they're picking up they eat the grass, don't they?
Yeah. So
while they're all eating, they'll have 2 or 3 of the adults watching over them. And if you go past them, if they're too close to the pathway and you go past them, they're proper protective over their babies.
Definitely. I mean, yeah, they were used as like guard dogs, essentially.
In a farm.
Yeah.
Yeah. But, wasn't it, was it when we were looking at old laws? I think we were looking at ancient laws, and you're allowed to drive your geese to one of the London markets still to this day, along one of the roads. You're allowed to do it. You're legally allowed to. I can't remember. And they put little booties on their feet because it's a long way, so they didn't want their little feet to get, like, sored.
Oh, bless them.
I'm sure I read that somewhere. I'm going to have to look into that now. It's quite a way, because where I am, I'm about 40 miles from London. It's not that far now, but back in the day, it was quite a way, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Mm. And at night, on the lake, if the fox is out, you can hear the geese shouting out warnings to everybody that the fox is around.
Yeah, beating them up.
They get quite noisy. Yeah, they do. They get really noisy. Now, there is also a chicken ghost, believe it or not. This is in Highgate Pond in London. Now, the Highgate chicken ghost is probably one of the weirdest ghost stories that we came across.
Yeah.
Right, the story goes that in early of April in 1626, it was a bitterly cold spring. Now, Sir Francis Bacon, no less, was driving through Pond Square in a horse-drawn carriage with his friend Dr. Witherbone, and they were discussing food preservation. Now, back in those days, they used salt, mainly salt, for preservation. And Dr. Bacon then suggested, Francis Bacon, said that maybe you could use cold, froze stuff, going on how cold it was outside. And Dr. Witherbone laughed. Now, Bacon decided to test his theory. There were several farms near there. They bought a chicken. They killed it, cleaned it. He then packed it with snow, put it in a large sack, put more snow around it. Hence, first frozen chicken in the world.
Okay.
Right? We don't know how successful that was, because you then go on to, it's all well and good while we've got snow, but what happens when it's a hot day? You know what I mean? Now, Bacon, I don't know how true this is, he caught a chill from running around in the snow that turned to pneumonia, and he died, basically.
Right.
Now, it's not Sir Francis that is seen around the pond, but that of the chicken that he killed.
Yeah.
Now, there are reports, quite a few reports, of this semi-plucked chicken that has been observed apparently running in circles around the pond and nearby in a nearby tree. But when anybody approaches it, it does vanish into thin air. Now, it kind of smacks me of an April Fool's story, right?
It does, doesn't it? Very much so. And, if chickens, they get slaughtered by the thousands, why is there not 1,000 more ghost chickens running about?
I don't know, but there have been more recent accounts of this. In the Second World War, air raid wardens allegedly often saw this fowl. One tried to capture it and it vanished as soon as he got anywhere near it. Somebody else was near Pond Square when they said they heard an invisible coach and horses. When the sound stopped, he saw the chicken. He couldn't catch it. And it's been seen as recent as 1969 and 1970. So it's just like, I don't know what to make of this one, to be fair.
Yeah, no, I don't. And, I mean, yeah, there might be one, but then, really, I don't know. I don't think so.
I think if there wasn't the tale of a high character like Sir Francis Bacon linked to it, I don't think that this, I don't know, what do I know? Maybe there is a ghost chicken that's been seen in that area. I don't know. I just think the historical tale, this is where we talk about historical tales overlaying truth. Yeah?
Yeah.
I just don't see this. But then I could never get my head around the fact of the talking mongoose. So what do I know? You know what I mean? I'm very cynical about why you would even want to investigate a case like that. But apparently, you shouldn't be dismissive. We talk about this all the time, and there's me being dismissive about a talking mongoose or a chicken at Highgate Pond. When it could be. Who knows? If you don't investigate, you don't know, right?
Yeah, exactly.
You know.
Spot on.
So we can laugh and go, and I do think without the historical tale involved in that, I mean, just look where the ghost of a bull went with the Penny Dreadfuls. It ended up being it turned into Spring Hill Jack.
Yeah.
You know, when we looked at that tale.
You don't get that many ghost chickens, though, that's the thing.
Let's be honest, you don't get many ghost gooses. You don't get many ghost mongooses.
No, it tends to be dogs or cats and animals.
See,
like
those I understand because of the connection to human.
Yeah.
Those I get because we have an emotional connection to that animal. When we get into, and I know there are cases where people become very attached to their goose or their chicken or whatever it be, but they're very rare compared to the others, right?
Yeah.
And this is, I think, why I have such, and particularly with this particular tale, Sir Francis Bacon is proving a point. He's not emotionally connected to that chicken in any way, shape or form. He goes to a local farm, buys one, slaughters it to prove a point. There's no emotional connection. Why? I don't get that. And like you say, chickens, even go back in the day, right? Not so much the mass farming we have now of chickens, but go back in the day. You'd keep chickens to breed them for eggs, and then you would kill to have chicken as a meat, right?
Yeah.
They're a food source, unfortunately, and they're seen as a food source. And I know various people do have connections to a pet chicken or whatever, but on this occasion, there isn't that. But I do think it's an historical tale that's overlaid a possible sighting of something unexplained, and they put it down to a chicken. And then urban legend takes over, doesn't it?
It does.
But we've got to talk about pigs, right? We've got to cover pigs. Now, again, a regular food source for people. Most people would have kept a pig because they have babies and then you've got food, right? Now, there is a ghost pig in Dartmoor at Merrypet. Now, a phantom sow and her litter of piglets has been sighted. Now, this was how they would make their way to Cator Gate, where there had been the carcass of a horse. Now, pigs are notoriously for eating anything, right?
Yeah, they do. That isn't it just hair they normally leave or something?
It is teeth.
Okay, I knew it was something.
It's the only thing they can't digest is human teeth. So if you're going to get rid of a body, they say that you have to remove the teeth. Otherwise, the teeth will be picked up and the police will find the teeth and then you're in trouble, apparently. It's Snatch, famous scene from a film that outlines that one. So anyway, when they got there, the crows had picked the horse clean. All that was left was bones and skin. So the starving pigs returned to Merrypet Hill. Now, I don't quite understand this one, really. They died, they're seen.
And that's it.
That's kind of the story. They went to this carcass, but then if they ate anything, then they would have not minded the rest of the horse, right?
Yeah.
And pigs will forage. They're not, I mean, God, truffle pigs. Just look at truffle pigs.
Yeah.
They've got a big nose. They get it in the ground, don't they? They eat bugs and they eat worms and they eat all sorts of things to pigs. They're not very discerning. They were used as a kind of disposable. like waste disposable kind of animal. Relatively cheap because you can get rid of all your food waste with a pig.
Yeah.
Right. But pigs are interesting because through the Middle Ages, animals were tried for human crimes, pigs being one of them. And they would put them in court on charges, and there were cases ranging from murder to obscenity.
Yeah, I don't know how that one works. He called me a pig.
Nowadays, that would be very kind of offensive. Now, this is like done properly. There's witnesses, evidence on both sides. There's legal aid, a lawyer to the animal. All sorts of things went on back then. Now, this is all detailed in Edward Payson's Evans' book, The Criminal Prosecution and Capital Punishment of Animals.
Yeah.
Right? In 1266, a pig was accused of actually eating a human being. After the trial, the pig was found guilty and sentenced by the monks of St. Geneva to death by public hanging, and the execution took place in the French village of Fontenay-aux-Roses.
Yeah, maybe this is where the story of Dr. Dolittle comes about.
If you could talk to the animals. Another case happened in the 14th century France when a young pig was arrested for attacking a child's face. The child eventually died because of the attack. The pig was arrested for the killing. It was taken to the court, just like humans accused of murderous acts, and stood trial. Richard has actually written a blog about this. It's in one of the books. I think it's in the first book, isn't it?
No, I think it might be in the second one. You'll have to get both books.
You'll have to go and get both books to find out the blog on this one. There is a receipt for the 9th of January where an executioner of Falaise in France acknowledges payment of 10 sous and 10 deniers for an execution. And the receipt reads, for his efforts and salary for having dragged and then hanged at the place of justice in Falaise a sow of approximately 3 years of age who had eaten the face of the child of Jaunet Le Macon, who was in his crib and who was approximately 3 months old, in such a way that the said infant died from the injuries. An additional 10 tournées for a new glove when the hangman performed the said execution. This receipt is given to Reginald Rigaud, Vicomte de Falaise. The hangman declares that he is well satisfied with this sum and that he makes no further claims on the king, our sire, and the said Vicomte.
Yeah. So you got a new glove out of it.
Honestly, it's unbelievable, isn't it?
Maybe it was made of pigskin.
Now, the book that these accounts have actually come from details more than 200 cases of different animals being prosecuted. Sparrows being prosecuted for chattering in church. Sparrows? Really?
Yeah, noisy little gits.
A pig executed for stealing a communion wafer.
Okay.
And a cock being burnt at the stake for laying an egg. I mean,
Okay.
you can't even... What were they thinking?
Oh, I don't know. It's Middle Ages, isn't it?
I know, right? Very strange times, the Middle Ages. One of the most amusing cases was that of a sow with her 6 pigs. And this was in France in 1457. The charge was murdering and partly devouring an infant. Now, the sow was found guilty and sentenced to death by hanging, though her offspring, oh God, partly because of their youth and innocence and the fact that their mother had set them a bad example, but chiefly because proof of their complicity was not forthcoming, were pardoned. So the babies got away with it, the piglets got away with it, but the poor old mother...
I really have no words, really.
I know.
It's astounding that people would even do this.
Well, they did. The pig was sentenced to be mangled and maimed in the head, 4 legs, and then dressed up in a jacket and breeches to be hung from the gallows in the market square.
Yeah.
It states As if to make the travesty of justice complete, the sale was dressed in man's clothes and executed on the public square near the City Hall. The executioner was provided with new gloves in order that he might come from the discharge of his duty, metaphorically at least, with clean hands, thus indicating that, as a minister of justice, he incurred no guilt in shedding blood.
It's the same bloke who got paid for his new gloves.
Obviously, he had a glove fetish.
Mm.
This is incredibly weird when you think about it in so many different ways, isn't it? If you know, they're treating animals as humans, for one.
Yeah.
They're complicit in human characteristics, but we, as humans, do put characteristics on animals, human characteristics on animals. Like, you've only got to think about Peter Rabbit and...
I think it's sort of, although they're personalising it for some of the crimes, they're not treating them as humans. It's just like slavery, isn't it? Because we use animals all the time, for not just food, but for our work as well. They work for us. The horses in particular.
Yeah.
When they play in the fields and things, and, so animals are all like that, and then, it's just weird.
But to dress the sow in man's clothing, to execute them in the same way you would execute a human, you are humanising the animal.
Yeah.
I mean, we do this as humans. I do it with Marley. He's my baby. Do you know what I mean? I go, ooh, talk to him like a little human.
I bet he looks at you going, don't talk to me like that, that's just stupid.
It's tone of voice that they listen to, not words, isn't it? Because you could say something really horrible in the same way you would say dinner. Oh, shouldn't have said that too loudly. He'll come down there going, what did she just say? You could say something horrible in the same tone of voice you would say something lovely, and the dog will react in the same way. So they don't understand words per se. They understand patterns. So if you said the WALK word, your dog would react.
Yeah.
Horses react to signals, physical signals. So like if you're riding a horse, they react to trained methods of, like you pull on the right.
Yeah,
right. Yeah, like on your heels. Yeah, thigh control, that sort of thing. They react to that. I kind of... Sometimes I do wonder what was going on in people's minds in the Middle Ages. I do kind of wonder. When I read accounts like this, I think, how can you... Sparrows, they're wild. They're like a wild animal. They're being possessed for chattering in church. Yeah, prosecuted, sorry. For chattering in church. So I just don't... How can you hold them in a court of law? Did they catch them?
Yeah, exactly. I don't know. I mean, it could be just a case of blaming them so you could get off of doing a crime.
When you think of these things that were going on back then, I know this is like more, all the accounts here are French, but when you start looking at things like this, and then you start thinking about the witch trials,
yeah,
you think, well, God, there's no wonder if they were believing this stuff, to do with animals, that they were consciously murdering rather than it just being an animalistic trait. You kind of then go, well, it's no wonder the witch trials took off when you've got accounts like this.
Yeah, definitely.
So all in all, we've covered quite a few different animals, and you've been very cynical at times, all the time, on this subject.
Some of the time.
What's your opinion, though? Do you not think... What do you think?
I think some of them could be genuine. But then, we know, especially in the UK, you get a lot of big cat sightings, and we put them down to real creatures, real cats. So I'm just thinking that sometimes most of these things could just be another animal. And it's the folklore that gets mixed up with it.
Yeah.
And I think as well, animals are very integral in our history and folklore, and especially with the witches, they had familiars and and stuff like that. So there is like they are in the occultism world as well. So I just think sometimes it all just gets muddled up, and people just make it up and come out with stories like the Black Shuck.
They did actually used to hang, if one of the familiars of a said witch, like a cat, for example, they would hang the cat alongside the witch as well. And this is why...
They also used to put them into walls of houses as well, didn't they?
That was slightly different. That was for protection. That wasn't as a punishment thing. That was a belief system in the protective qualities of an animal.
Yeah.
Within walls and stuff like that. But you've got to... The mysticism side of animals sort of like transcends anything else. I mean, go back to the warring factions back in the day. If they were burying a warrior, they would generally bury the horse with the warrior.
Yeah.
We've got accounts of that gone on. I think that's Viking Norse.
Yeah, because they believed that animals had a right to go to whatever it was. Not Asgard. Asgard was
Valhalla.
Yeah, Valhalla and the Rainbow Bridge and all that. And they were very animal orientated.
But we've taken that Rainbow Bridge kind of mythology. We've again fluffed that up. Oh, they're crossing the Rainbow Bridge. You know what I mean? In regard to our pets. Rather than, we look at our pets passing over the Rainbow Bridge, but we wouldn't say that about a human.
Yeah.
And again, there's a difference, isn't there, in our perception of that?
Yep.
Totally different belief systems, I suppose, which is driven by modern day New Ageism almost, spiritualism almost. Our pets do pass over with us when we go, if you believe that, they go over and you're not just met by your loved ones, you're met by pets, the pets you've had in the previous throughout your life as well. When I go over, I quite expect to see my Cocker Spaniel and my cat over there when I go over there, because that's what we are told, that's what we're led to believe.
God help my friend, she's got loads of animals.
But look at that case in particular. She gets incredibly attached. She even got even to a snake recently. Absolutely devastated when that passed.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. She's very linked to animals, and yeah, I mean, believe it or not, she lives in a caravan and she's got like 40 animals, and every time we go there, they charge zoo prices.
Yeah, she has a lot. She does have a lot. But her connection to animals is actually stronger than what she actually has to humans.
Definitely, yeah.
See, whenever we talk about any form of haunting, I always, in my head, I'm always looking for connection. Not necessarily historical connection, but a different form of connection. Like we talked about a case where a team went in, and it was only because of a specific person that had joined them for the investigation that night that they managed to get to have a spirit box session with the alleged spirit that was there, and it was because of her history and her knowledge and her language skills that they actually managed to get that connection.
Yeah.
Previously, nothing.
Yeah.
But right place, right time, right connection. And when we looked at the Voigt manuscript, thousands or hundreds of people have looked at that, and it's been written from fake through to ufology and all sorts of weird things. Took the right person with the right skill set to look at that and go, actually, this looks like shorthand to me.
Yeah.
It has been carbon dated, so we know it's as old as they think it is. But for me, I'm looking at that and I'm recognising, symbols and mythology and folklore surrounding medicine. So I think this is a personal medical book, basically, that somebody's written out for themselves. So it took the right person with the right skill set to look at that, and the right person with the right connection to get that encounter. You know what I mean? And I do think that whenever I look at any form of haunting, I kind of I'm looking for connection. I think there's more in regards, I think that is more integral in any form of paranormal encounter than we maybe give credit for now.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with that, because even, as I said, with the horse in the attic that I experienced, well, I see a picture of, it's like, why is it there? Why, it's quite clear what it is. It's not a fake picture. You can sort of tell with that. But at the same time, why is that spirit in the attic? And it might be something to do with the land, but then equally, it could be something that it's linked to in the attic. And you've got to look, as you said, look for that connection. Is it land? Is it historically linked? Or is it something else? And that's where your research comes into effect.
But you also have to be careful about overlaying
to
back up. I mean, I've seen this before in the field where they had a personal experience and delved and delved and delved into the history until they found something that would connect. It may not. And how many times do we see a haunting that's supposed to be a famous character when there's hundreds of other people that lived and worked and, that weren't in the history books or aren't in the history books? Every lady, how many accounts of Anne Boleyn are there? She can't be haunting all these places, surely. Or maybe she is. Maybe she is one of the more prolific ghosties out there. But they forget the many other ladies in waitings and, other people that would have been around that it might possibly be. You shouldn't, and I don't think you should ever set in stone an opinion. You can gain opinion from knowledge, but your knowledge is going to change and grow as you go through the field. And you shouldn't be dismissive or discounting of anything. I mean, for us, we read the chicken story and we were like, what? But people have had encounters. Who are we to dismiss that?
Exactly, and it's something that it's good to look into.
And it makes it look... And I think, we look back at history like the looking at the accounts of where they've prosecuted animals and killed animals for human crime in a way they would a human. And we look back at history and for us nowadays, we go, that's absolutely bonkers, what were they thinking? But that happened. Do you know what I mean? That was their belief system or their frame of reference at the time. That's how they dealt with things at the time. And now it seems crazy, but now we're in a different time. We're in a different perspective. What we do now in this day and age, people might look back in, 400 years and go, in the 2000s they were doing this. What the hell were they thinking? We don't know, do we?
No, exactly. Technology advances, it really does.
It does. Our understanding of the world around us advances and constantly changes as well. We have to bear in mind it's an ever-evolving situation, and to not get so locked into one specific way of thinking, no matter our own personal opinions. And on that note, we've actually come to the end of the show, darling.
Really? That's come around me quick.
It has, hasn't it?
Yeah, and we haven't even talked about the books yet.
Go on then, quickly, before we shut down for the day.
Okay, if you're interested in anything that we had to say in this show and all the others, and you want to know a bit more, definitely check out our website at paranormalconcept.com. Have a look at our publications. We've got 2 books out. One's called The Book of Parasearch. One's called Paranormal Concept Extra. They're both available on Amazon worldwide, and they're just full of brilliant blogs from history to paranormal, UFO. We cover everything, even like spiritualism and stuff like that. So definitely get the books. They're absolutely amazing ones, and we've had such good feedback on the books. So don't miss out. Buy them today.
And if you have got the book and read it, please feel free to go over and leave a review, because that's really lovely if you do that.
Yeah, definitely.
On that note, we've actually come to the end of the show.
I'm gutted. Can we pre-record the next one then?
Oh, give me a chance. And hopefully Richard will be back to join us again very soon.
Yes, definitely. Although I think by the time he joins, he might need another holiday.
I think by the time he listens to the few we've done without him, he'll be like, oh, do I actually want to be back?
You don't just go on holiday straight away.
On that note, say good night.
Good night.
Bye.